Hey, it's Lane from LainTCG, and I'm here to talk about Metal Empire. DNAing isn't quite out of style, but does feel like Vegas still. So, we're going to talk about the deck plan and my thoughts on the deck. Metal Empire is a high rolling DNA deck that spits out a lot of sources on the field while going up its line and getting value off of flipping bodies off the top and making hard to remove boss monsters. Honestly, my biggest problem with the deck is that it feels more like a barrier to the top tables rather than something that belongs at them. The deck at time of writing has a win rate of 55.1% and a top 3 rate of 36.5%. While it's popular, it's only just a bit better than a coin flip. Meanwhile, TB has a 66% win rate, Volcanus has a 59.7% win rate, and Jupitermon has a 58.4% win rate. It doesn't do enough to stop the best decks, and without the field option and security, can be easily outed by the mass amounts of removal and other ways to out, like bottom decking that they have. But if you're lucky, you can do a lot with the deck. I just, want to make it pretty clear that if you are playing this deck against the top decks in the meta, you're probably going to have a bad time. It has a pretty bad win rate against things like TB, Volcanus, Jupitermon, all of those kinds of things, Beat Break, that sort of stuff. It has like a 36% win rate, something like that against it. So just be aware that it's bad into meta, but it's pretty good against, your random tier 2, random tier 3 decks. But I'm going to talk about the cards today and go over them. I mostly wanted to bring it up because this is a deck that I have been looking at since it was came out, and now that it got the Oceania top, I wanted to talk about it a bit more in depth. I'm going to go over all the cards and a bit of my thoughts on the deck, but yeah, let's get into it. So, Kapurimon is the egg for the deck. Metal Empire is a DNA strategy, even if it's not as hard in on the DNAs as, say, Virus Busters is. And this, in addition to its ability to go wide, helps facilitate the DNA stuff. So it has all turns when any of your Metal Empire trait Digimon would leave the battle area, other than by your effects. One of them and any of your other Digimon may DNA Digivolve into a Metal Empire trait Digimon card in the hand. This effect, which is not once per turn, helps you dodge removal and chip into security more regularly and helps set up a good amount of your plays as you go up your line. It should be the only egg you play in the new version of the strategy. So, yeah, this is the one for you. And the 3 rookies, like many of the new decks, the rookies are fairly templated and normal, so I'm going to be going through them all at once. HiAndromon is the Searcher rookie, which reveals the top 3 cards of the deck and adds 1 Machine, Cyborg, Mutant trait card and 1 ME card, and returns the rest to the bottom of the deck. It also gives Blocker Inherit. Toyagumon is start of main by trashing 1 card with Puppet or ME trait from your hand, draw 1 and gain 1, and it also has a Raid Inherit. And Kokuamon has on play by trashing 1 card with a Mutant or ME trait from your hand, draw 2. And it has when attacking once per turn, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP for the turn as an inherit, which refreshes on DNA. Then we have Thundermon, which is the best level 4 in the deck, more or less. It's Metal Empire's version of the cost reduction level 4 that has been showing up in the last set. We'll see if it's a new thing going forward for all decks. But it has a play cost of 5 and an evo cost of 2 on ME cards, or 3 on any level 3 yellow or black, and is treated as Mamemon, a name that doesn't really matter for this deck, but in case they ever actually make a Mamemon deck like I've been wanting for years. So it has main once per turn. You may play or use 1 card with a Mutant or ME trait from your hand with a cost reduced by 2. This can be used to cheaply play your 3s or your Metal Empire field option for free, or in worst case scenario, a 4 for your DNAs or 5s with assembly for a more reasonable cost. It can even play your boss monster Ace for cheaper and Chaosdramon for cheaper. So it's a really good card in this strategy, especially because everything has assembly for the most part. It also has a generic yellow inheritive. When attacking once per turn, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2k DP for the turn. But yeah, it's a great card. You should run it at 4, basically, in any version of this deck. Then we have Guardromon and Greymon. The other 2 level 4s serve utility purposes in the deck and are more secondary, so I'm bringing them up together. Both are 5 play cost bodies that evo for 2 in archetype, or 3 on a red or black for Greymon, or 3 or 2 specifically on black for Guardromon, and can be played for 3 with Thundermon with 5k DP. They both have that same stat block. Guardromon is a blocker that on play, when digivolving by trashing 1 card with Machine Cyborg ME trait from your hand, draw 2. It also gives blocker inherit. And Greymon is a 5k raid body that on play, when digivolving, you may return 1 Digimon card with Greymon in its name or the ME or VB trait from your trash to your hand. Considering the amount of cards this deck trashes for searching, this can be quite useful, and it also gives a raid inherit for your bigger bodies. Then we have Andromon. The first card to play into the DNA strategy bit of the line is Andromon, which is a 7 play cost, 3 evo cost on Metal Empire cards, and can DNA for free from a black-purple level 4 and a red-yellow level 4. It has on play, when digivolving, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You may play 1 play cost 5 or lower Machine Cyborg ME trait card among them without paying cost, trash the rest. This can help you set up your trash for other cards' assembly conditions and help with DNA or card advantage, but it can only play 4s or lower in this deck because of the play cost 5 or lower thing. If they made it 7, which would hit other 5s, you could then play, Machinedramon, which I assume they didn't want you to do. And then also counter once per turn. One of your other Digimon may digivolve into a level 6 or lower Metal Empire trait card in the hand without paying the cost, which is quite nice. For the inherit, it gives opponent's turn once per turn. When one of your opponent's Digimon attacks, you may change the attack target to this Digimon. Mostly this is to protect bodies and security with your larger bodies, as it doesn't tie into deck strategy otherwise. There isn't any when attack switches do things that other things that have that kind of inherit do. So it's mostly to redirect things into Machinedramon or Chaosdramon. Then we have Megadramon, which is a level 5 in the deck that adds a bit of utility at a play cost of 7 or an evo cost of 3 on Metal Empire bodies, or 4 on top of any black or purple. It can also be played for 5 with a -2 from assembly, with a level 4 or lower Machine Cyborg Metal Empire trait card from your trash being used for that. Or even cheaper if you have Thunder. On play, when digivolving, delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. If this effect didn't delete, de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. And then all turns once per turn, when any of your Machine, Cyborg, or ME trait Digimon are played, you may activate the previous effect. This is primarily used to clear up small bodies, but can also be used to make boss monsters easier to clear, because you can do multiple de-digivolves. It also has an inherited effect that combos extremely well with 2 cards at the top end, specifically Machinedramon and Chaosdramon, where end of attack once per turn. By unsuspending this Digimon, delete one of your Digimon with the lowest play cost. This can be used with Machine and Chaos because they have Fragment to attempt to delete themselves to unsuspend. It doesn't need to delete them to unsuspend because it's by unsuspending delete something, so you can unsuspend, use Fragment to prevent the deletion, and then swing again if you need to do that for game. Then we have MetalGreymon. It's also an assembly body who sets up Machinedramon for the deck and has an incredibly powerful inheritable for this deck in particular. It's a 7 play cost, 3 evo cost on ME, or 4 on top of any black or red, and 5 cost with a -2 from assembly with a level 4 or lower Metal Empire trait, or again, even cheaper if you have Thunder on board. It has Decode to play a level 4 or lower Metal Empire trait Digimon for the purposes of this deck from this Digimon's sources when you have it on the body, or as the inherited also works the same, which lets it play out a body at any time the Digimon would leave the battle area other than by battle. So specifically, this can be triggered multiple times in a turn and can be stacked many times off of Machinedramon and Chaosdramon's Fragment. So on play, when digivolving, it has delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less, then give one of their Digimon start of main phase this Digimon attacks until the end of their turn. Though again, they attack at the beginning of their turn. This can force interaction that lets you ace into Machinedramon, and the inherit is great for that boss monster in particular, because again, you can just keep spitting out bodies and do DNA stuff if you need to. Then we have Machinedramon ACE, which is probably the best ACE they've printed in a while, coming with built-in protection for the stack and has ability to be played for 5 off of Thundermon, or for free off of HiAndromon for when we talk about him next. During counter timing after your opponent attacks, but before blocks are declared, you can evo into it for free on top of any purple or black, or any level 5 with Cyborg or ME trait. It has Reboot Fragment 2, which means that when it would be deleted, you can instead trash 2 sources to keep it around. So on play, when Digivolving when attacking, once per turn, D-Digivolve 3, one of your opponent's Digimon. Just to clarify, D-Digivolve 3 means up to 3, so you can choose whichever number is most advantageous for you. Then by placing 2 level 5 or lower Machine, Cyborg, or ME trait cards from your hand or trash as its bottom Digivolution cards, your opponent's effects can't trash any of your Digimon stacked cards until this turn ends. Or until their turn ends, sorry. Basically, this prevents D-Digivolving happening to it, as a top card counts as a stacked card, and keeps its sources from being stripped as well, because those are also stacked cards. The overflow of 4, if it leaves the area, is pretty heavy, but it does have some removal protection, and the field helps even more, which I will talk about later. But the field basically gives everything guard, so you can use your smaller bodies that it spits out with the inherits to keep it around in case it would get bottom decked or bounced to hand. So we have HiAndromon, which is a gambling card, and I want to make it very clear that is a gambling card. If you play it, and most of the decks that run like Metal Empire do play it, it is quite nice if you see the things that you want to see, but because Machinedramon is run at 3 or 4 in the deck, that's 3 or 4 out of 50 that you're going to see what you actually want, so it's pretty rare, especially because this deck doesn't have any way to manipulate the top cards of your deck. But it's one of your DNA targets if you have the Kapurimon egg out and start taking swings. It evos for 3 on an ME trait, or 3 on top of a yellow or black level 5, and can DNA for free on a purple-black level 5 and a red-yellow level 5, which is basically any 2 of your 5s in the deck. On play, when Digivolving when attacking, once per turn, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You may play one play cost 7 or lower Machine, Cyborg, or ME trait card among them without paying the cost. Trash the rest. Pretty straightforward. And all turns, all of your ME trait Digimon gain Alliance and Reboot. This is ideal if you flip Machinedramon off the top, and then have a 12k body you can use for Alliance with HiAndromon and do 2 checks and potentially DNA into Chaos with both of them. But it's a lot more likely you find a Searcher and do a 14k check for 2 security, so just keep that in mind. It is a really nice card when it hits, it's just almost never going to hit like you want it to. And we have MetalGaru, which is another DNA target in the level 6 slot that can be used with the Kapurimon egg. It is also an assembly body that can be played out cheaply with Thundermon. It's a 12 play cost with an assembly -6, putting a level 5, 4, and 3 with ME trait from trash under it, which means it can play for 6 or 4 if you're using Thundermon's effect. So it has evade and decode level 5 or lower with ME trait, so you can play something out if it would die. On play, when Digivolving, trash any 4 Digivolution cards from your opponent's Digimon, then return one of your opponent's Digimon with as many or fewer Digivolution cards as this Digimon to the bottom of the deck. All turns, once per turn, when any Digimon are played or Digivolved, one of your opponent's Digimon can't suspend until their turn ends. The combination of these effects means that when it comes out, you can bottom deck almost any Digimon other than a DNA body, and can stun up to 2 bodies every turn rotation, because if anything else is played out on your turn after this comes out, you can stun something, and then on your opponent's turn, when they do literally any game action that's not use an option, you stun something else. So you can prevent 2 swings basically every single turn, every turn rotation or turn cycle. Then we have Chaosdramon. Chaosdramon is the final Digimon in the deck, as it's generally run, and is incredibly powerful as a boss monster for the deck. It has a play cost of 15, which is quite a bit, and an evo cost of 5 on a red, purple, or black level 6, or you can DNA on a red, black, and purple, yellow level 6 Digimon, so a red or black and a purple or yellow. It also has assembly -8, needing 6 level 6 or lower Machine, Cyborg, or Metal Empire trait cards with different names, which means it can play out for 7 with its assembly, or 5 off of Thundermon if you meet the requirements. So it has Piercing, Security Attack +1, Fragment 2, and Engage, which lets it attack at the end of your turn. and it has on play when digivolving when attacking once per turn, de-digivolve 2 all of your opponent's Digimon, then by placing 2 level 5 or lower Machine, Cyborg, or Metal Empire trait cards from your hand or trash as its bottom Digivolution cards, delete 2 of your opponent's Digimon with as high or lower a play cost as the number of this Digimon's Digivolution cards. This can, on play with Assembly, delete 2 8 play cost or lower, which everything should be after de-digivolve 2 unless they have stack protection, which is incredibly powerful. It also has the piercing security attack +1 and fragment protection and engage, so it's just kind of a house most of the time and very difficult to remove. Now we have the field option. It's primarily there to protect your stacks with Machinedramon in them for a use cost of 2 and a black color source or a requirement of an ME trait. Security, all turns. All of your ME trait Digimon gain guard, which is when any of your other Digimon would leave the battle area by your opponent's effects. By deleting this Digimon, they don't leave. This is used to keep your Machinedramon or Chaosdramon from being bounced back to hand or bottom of deck primarily. And you should think about it in that way more than anything else. This doesn't add any combo stuff or any features like Virus Busters or a lot of the other field stuff for the Time Stranger decks. This is mostly just protection for your big guys. It also has main, like the way that you use it as main, add your bottom security card to hand and place this card face up as bottom security card. And in security, it has the effect, when checked, you may play 1 level 5 or lower ME trait Digimon card from your hand without paying the cost. Then we have Giant Meat, which is just the memory boost for the Pendulum archetypes in Digimon. It has a use cost of 3 and a white source or a use requirement of any of the Pendulum archetypes. For the purposes of this deck, it basically reads, main, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Metal Empire trait card among them to hand, return the rest to the bottom of the deck, then place it in the battle area, and its delay effect is just gain 2 memory. And the security effect is just place it in the battle area, so you'll get the 2 memory on your next turn. That's about it. Good card, just a memory boost. And we have the dual color trainings. Honestly, either is fine, or one of each, whichever works best for you and what you have. But you should be looking at punching training for red and black or treadmill training for yellow and black. Both do the job just fine, and these cover most of the colors that you have in the deck. But for 2, look at the top 2 and add 1 card with either color, and on a later turn, evo for 2 less into a monster with one of those colors. You can ignore the color requirements if you do not have one already on the board. So like punching training, if you don't already have a punching training, you can play it without meeting both colors, and treadmill training is the same. And then potential cards for the deck. I'm just going to bring them up. They're not run in most lists, but you can if you want to. You could run the Metal Empire Guardromon and Omnimon as well in the deck, but they play more into the DNA side of the Virus Busters deck than they do here specifically, because MetalGaru has powerful stun effects, and these just kind of add to a DNA strategy. Guardromon adds another way to de-digivolve 2 and delete a small body, but it mostly adds another security attack to a swing, and encounter timing lets you DNA into Omni or Chaosdramon, which, again, not super necessary here, but it is nice, and it also has decode. So, it's there for that, and it has the assembly in the same way that the MetalGaru does, so you could also play it for pretty cheap. And then Omnimon itself can be DNA'd into from any 2 of the 6s that you would run in the deck, because it's blue, yellow, and then red, black. But it gets maximum value if you're doing a lot of DNA shenanigans up the way, like you do with Virus Busters. As it gets to delete a Digimon, then for every 5 sources it has, it does minus 13,000 DP until opponent's turn ends, or trash a top security and recover 1 as many times as you have 5 sources. But it's probably less solid than just going into Chaosdramon in this deck. So, see if you like it, but I don't personally. So I'm going to bring up 8 Infinity 8s deck list as the sample deck list for this one. They're the person who won the Oceania regional, and this is the deck list that they have online for it. So I figured that this is probably the best one to show you all, because it's the only one that's got results. So there is 4 Higurumon, 2 Kakuamon, 4 Toyagumon, 3 Greymon, 3 Guardromon, 4 Thundermon, 4 Andromon, 3 Megadramon, 3 MetalGreymon, 3 Machinedramon ACE, 2 HiAndromon, 4 MetalGarurumon, because it's just that good, and then 3 Chaosdramon. Then you have 2 Metal Empire, 2 Treadmill Training, and 4 Giant Meat, and then you run 4 of your Kapurimon egg. It's mostly straightforward. It's just ratios on these lists. You can fiddle with them as you like to, suit what you want to do. Personally, I don't like HiAndromon, so I'd probably run 1 more Rookie and maybe 1 more Machinedramon, but that's me. So I'm going to talk about the 1-turn kill and a more realistic idea of what it'll do for you. So just keep in mind that the thing I'm going to talk about here is very pie in the sky. You're probably not going to have it, but I will say what it does. So for a push turn, if you have the optimal hand or luck, you'll want 2 level 4s and 1 in the back and 1 in the front. You push out from the back, you attack with 1 or both, and if 1 would die, instead DNA into Andromon and flip off the top, hopefully finding a 4. From there, Digivolve into a 5 on your new body and swing with Andromon. If it would die, then DNA into HiAndromon and play out another body. From here, you swing with HiAndromon with Alliance and finish doing 5 checks. If you got Machine off of HiAndromon, you can then DNA to do a final check with Chaosdramon. This requires you to pay 3 memory if you are DNAing on top of a 4 off of Andromon. And if you flip if you flip a Machinedramon, everything else is free, but the chances are you're not going to flip a Machinedramon. This will do 5 checks if they don't have any blockers, and then if you go into Chaosdramon, you will kill. It's just not going to happen. Most of the time, you're going to be setting up value by searching, doing small interactions and DNAs, and then hard slam Machine or Chaosdramon to keep yourself in the game as your opponent ramps up. Though the 1-turn kill is possible, it's not likely, as you need 10 specific cards to show up in the same turn. It's mostly a grow value over time and abuse Machinedramon with multiple Metal Gray or Megadramon inherits as you can to get as many bodies or swings as you can with Fragment. This deck is mostly way to just abuse value gain over time rather than doing a 1-turn kill. Just the 1-turn kill is possible on turn 2 or 3 if you have absolutely everything. You just won't almost ever. So keep it in mind. It is very fun if it happens, and it's really fun when you get very close. I've gotten 4 or 5 checks in 1 turn before. I can just never get that last one because there's just so much luck needed to find everything. But yeah, that's about it. Please like and subscribe and share this with your community or friends who are getting into the competitive scene or would like to learn the deck. My Twitter and Twitch are LainTCG. My icon and thumbnail are by Henry Magenta on Twitter and ArtStation. My model is by Paleoraptor on Twitter and Bluesky. My chibi model is by Feral on Twitter and Twitch. My banner is by Yo-Yoms on Twitter. And my logo is by Pinkybird on Twitter and VGen. But that's about it. Hope you guys have a nice day, and I'll see you next time. Peace!